Right now you have 37 apps on your phone, streaming services with 10,000 things to watch, social media apps where you can talk to hundreds of humans at once, and games that simulate entire different realities in the palm of your hand. And somehow, you are still bored. You've probably felt this 100 times, that restlessness, that hollow feeling no amount of scrolling seems to fix. You open one app, close it, open another, but it never seems to satisfy this feeling of emptiness. Most people assume it's just their personality. It's not, because later in this video we're going to go through something that will completely change how you see this feeling. We're going to stop at a study where scientists gave people a choice between sitting quietly for 15 minutes or electrocuting themselves. 67% chose the shock. I'll let that sit for a moment before we get there. We're also going to look at something that the people who built your apps don't want you to think about. Because every notification, every autoplay, every feed that never ends was not designed to entertain you. It was designed to make sure you never stop. And by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how that machine works. But to understand why this restlessness exists in the first place, we need to go back, much further back than you might expect. 70,000 years ago, a man named Enki sat in near complete darkness. No screen, no sound except wind and fire, nothing to watch, nothing to scroll, just the sky, the fire, and time. And here is what the archaeological record consistently shows us. He was not bored, and that gap between you and Enki is what this video is about. Because the question isn't simply what ancient humans did when they had nothing. It's why their time felt full, and ours, despite everything, doesn't. They had nothing, and it was enough. We have everything, and it isn't. That gap isn't a lifestyle problem, it's a biological one. Your brain wasn't designed for today's modern world. It was designed for Enki's, and it hasn't forgotten. As the morning sun rises over the open savanna, so does Enki. There is no alarm, no notification pulling him from sleep mid-cycle. His body completes its rest the way it was designed to, fully, naturally, and without interruption. The morning is slow, there is fire to restart, water to find. Perhaps a short walk to check where the animals moved overnight. These are not chores, they are puzzles. Each one requires full presence, observation, memory, physical skill. His attention is not divided. It cannot be. By midday, the work is largely done. Studies of modern hunter-gatherer tribes who lived closest to Enki's time period show that our ancestors worked somewhere between 3 to 5 hours a day to meet their basic needs. The rest of the day was unstructured. They talked, they told stories, they made things with their hands, not because someone asked them to, but because the making itself felt satisfying. They decorated objects that had no practical function. They sang, they played with children, they sat with each other in silence. Silence for them was not a problem to solve. Anthropologists who have studied campfire behaviour in hunter-gatherer societies found something remarkable. During the day, conversation was mostly practical, food, movement, logistics. But at night, around the fire, it changed entirely. When the fire came alive and the world beyond it disappeared, the conversations changed. Nobody spoke of tomorrow's hunt or where the nearby water was. The invisible world moved in. Spirits. Ancestors. The question of why anything existed at all. The fire did not just give light, it gave permission to wonder, to grieve, to imagine and to remember. In 2008, archaeologists excavating a cave in southwestern Germany uncovered a flute. It was carved from a vulture bone, 35,000 years old. 5 holes precisely placed. Someone made this not for survival, but for beauty, for the experience, for the feeling of sound in the dark. Around the same period, across multiple sites in Africa, researchers found shell beads with holes deliberately drilled through them. They were personal ornaments worn on the body, evidence of an inner world, evidence that Enki and his people were not simply surviving. Survival wasn't enough for them, it never was. Here is what neuroscience tells us about all of this. The human brain has a system called the default mode network. It activates when you are doing nothing, when you stare at the ceiling, when you sit by a fire, when you let your mind wander without destination. Your brain is not idle. This is the time when it processes emotion, consolidates memory, generates creativity, and constructs your sense of self. It is, in a very real sense, where you happen. But it only activates when you give it space. Every notification, every scroll, every piece of content you consume suppresses it. Your phone is not filling your boredom, it is preventing the mental process that would have resolved it naturally. Enki was never bored, not because his life was more exciting, but because his brain was allowed to complete its own cycles. Yours never gets the chance. It is partly because around 12,000 years ago something shifted. Humans discovered agriculture, and with it, for the first time in our history, came the concept of work that never ends. The hunter-gatherer's effort was bounded. You hunted, you found food or you didn't, and then the rest of the day was yours. A farmer's work is never complete. There is always more to plant, more to harvest, more to store, more to protect. The horizon of obligation moved permanently forward. With farming came ownership. With ownership came inequality. With inequality came hierarchy. And with hierarchy came something Enki never experienced in the same way. The feeling that your time belongs to someone else. We have been refining that feeling ever since. The Industrial Revolution didn't invent work. It perfected the extraction of it. The digital revolution promised to free us from it. Instead, it followed us home, into our beds, into the last quiet spaces we had left. And so we arrive here, exhausted, overstimulated, reaching for the phone not because we want to, but because the alternative, sitting with nothing, has become genuinely uncomfortable. We have become afraid of our own minds in stillness. Let me tell you a fun fact. The word boredom didn't exist in most languages until the industrial era. The English word itself only appears in the 19th century. Around the same time, factory work became the dominant human experience. Before that, there was no need for the word, not because people were always entertained, but because unoccupied time was not experienced as a problem requiring a name. Today, the average person touches their phone over 2,000 times a day. Not because they are waiting for something important, but because the feeling of having nothing in front of you has become intolerable. Psychologists at the University of Virginia ran a study in which participants were asked to sit alone in a room for 15 minutes. They were given two choices: to do nothing or administer mild electric shocks to themselves. 67% of participants chose the electric shock. They preferred pain over boredom. This is the part of the story where you expect this to end with a solution, a recommendation, a list of things you could do to reclaim what Enki had. But humans have tried to get back to that feeling for thousands of years. Lao Tzu, writing in ancient China, said that the Tao, the natural way of things, cannot be grasped by a mind that is always somewhere else. Confucius observed that a man who chases two rabbits catches neither. That scattered attention is not just inefficient, it is a kind of violence against the self. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journals that the present moment is all a man ever truly possesses, that the past is gone and the future is imagination, and that most human suffering lives in the gap between the two. And then came Eckhart Tolle, thousands of years after all of them, writing in a world full of screens and notifications that the present moment is the only place where life can actually be found. That everything else, the scrolling, the planning, the replaying, is the mind running from the only thing that is real, the present moment. We've been writing this down for millennia, building entire philosophies around it, dedicating lifetimes to teaching it. But Enki never needed to read any of it. Being in the present wasn't wisdom for him. It was simply the only option the world gave him. There was no past to scroll through, no future to anxiously simulate on a screen, no notification pulling him out of the moment before he'd finished living in it. Just the fire, the stars and the now. And that limitation is actually the kind of freedom we have spent centuries trying to capture in books. We were never supposed to fight this hard just to feel present, but we live in a world that was designed deliberately to keep us anywhere but here. Every app on your phone was built by people who understood the human mind well enough to exploit it. The autoplay that starts before you've decided to keep watching. The notification engineered to arrive at the exact moment you are about to put the phone down. The feed that never ends. Because an ending would mean you might stop. It isn't your fault, it was never your fault. You are human in a world that has learned exactly how to use that against you. The only way to get out of this loop is to notice, not overcome, just notice. Notice the moment the hand reaches for the phone before the mind has decided to. Notice what feeling the mindless scrolling is trying to bury, because underneath the boredom, there is stillness. And you have been trained your entire life to run from it, to always be onto something, to always be productive. The modern world did not just give you distractions, it convinced you that stillness itself was a problem to be solved, that an unoccupied mind is a wasted one. Enki felt that stillness every day, but there was no one to tell him that it was a problem, that he had to be productive. Nobody taught him that stillness was something to escape. We silly modern humans traded this feeling of stillness for busyness and called it progress.